Welcome back, fight fans, to episode number 292 of the Neutral Corner Boxing Podcast. I am your host, Michael Montero, for The Ring Magazine, ringtv.com, and the Ring Digital YouTube channel, where you are watching me live right now. As always, I remind you, make sure you're subscribed, click that notification bell, hit the thumbs up, man. If you got to be a hater, go ahead and hit the thumbs down. That's better than doing nothing. At least hit one of them, all right? And if you can't catch the live video, don't worry. The audio pod will be out tomorrow on podcast platforms around the world. Just search for Montero on Boxing, the Neutral Corner, and boom, you will find me. As always, I remind you guys, spread the word about the show, all right? And let people know, man. Every single episode, I need you guys to tell people about this show. It's a word-of-mouth kind of thing that we got going here, all right? Subscriptions, likes, ratings, reviews, all that good stuff helps me out. So make sure that you're doing that, okay? TNC 292 for the week of December 4th. Holy shit, it's about to be almost the end of the year. Crazy, huh? This year has freaking flown by. So had a great weekend. Hope you guys enjoyed your Thanksgiving. I was with family. I told you guys last week, I was babysitting my little nephew, Luca. He's in his terrible twos. He only had a couple meltdowns. He did pretty good. Reason being, my sister was in the hospital. She just gave birth to her second son, named him Enzo. And so I am an uncle for the second time now. I have a little nephew, Luca, and a little nephew, Enzo. I think those two names go together great. I absolutely love Luca, and I loved the little man, Enzo, already. So my family's very, very excited. Of course, it's a little bittersweet and surreal because my brother Anthony died a year ago, and it sucks that he's not here to see all this, but he's here in spirit, right? So, all right, guys, we have a ton of stuff to catch up on. And I see Kauster in the chat says, RIP to Mr. P. Of course, talking about the great Patrice O'Neal. He died on this day 10 years ago. It's been 10 years since we lost Patrice O'Neal, one of my favorite comedians of all time. Very politically incorrect, stepped in it often, but I loved Patrice. And he was great on Opie and Anthony. You guys have heard me talk about that show before. That was the best radio show ever. Absolutely great. And when Patrice O'Neal was on O&A, he crushed it every single time. I listened to some Patrice O'Neal clips today while I caught up on work. I listened to them often. Dude was just way, way ahead of his time. And we miss him in the comedy community. Those of us who like real comedy, guys who take risks and go for it. And Patrice certainly did that. All right. Again, we have a lot to cover, guys. So hold back on the phones. Okay. We will get to phones, obviously, because I know you guys have a ton of opinions. I'm going to have to rant and rave on this episode. Okay. Before I get into the review, though, let's hit some quick news and notes. And I'll plow through this. Before I get into news, I want to share some stuff with you guys. There are two cards here in Atlanta coming up this Saturday, December 4th, and next Saturday, December 11th. Both of them will be streamed on the WBC network. I will be calling the fights from ringside both nights for the WBC channel. So make sure you check them out, man. This Saturday, let me share my screen here. At Buckhead Fight Club, it is college fight night. Now, how freaking cool is this? How often do you guys see college boxing? It is college fight night this Saturday in Atlanta, December 4th at Buckhead Fight Club. It is Georgia Tech versus University of Georgia. Again, I'll be calling the fights from ringside. Free live stream on the WBC channel, so you have no excuse not to watch, okay? There's only one major card this Saturday. We'll talk about it, but it's on DAZN. Some of you guys don't have DAZN. So, hey, you could check this one out for free. And again, college rivalries are awesome. College sports are huge in America. We really should be bringing back college boxing. And Terry Moss at Buckhead Fight Club is doing everything she can to do that. She is the head coach of the Georgia Tech team. She trains them. And they're going to go up against University of Georgia. That's a big rivalry here in Georgia. So I'm learning, right? I'm new to this area, but so I'm learning. Saturday, December 4th, this Saturday. Doors open at 6:30 p.m. First bell is at 7 p.m. So it's a pretty early show. I'll be calling the fights. So check out your boy. Check out these college kids. It's going to be a lot of fun. And I will post a link. In fact, I'll post this right here in the chat, this link for you guys. If I could copy it. I am not tech savvy. There we go. Okay. Copy. All right, here we go. I'm going to paste it here in the chat, and I will share this, of course, on all my social. But I want you guys to check this out because, again, it's going to be a lot of fun, man. This Saturday, December 4th, starts at 7 p.m. Eastern time. Any of you guys in the Atlanta area that want to come get tickets and check this out live, let me know. Okay, I can get you in touch with people for tickets, but you can just go to buckheadfightclub.com and get tickets there. Okay. But if you want to get a group rate or something like that, if you and your friends, family want to come out, just DM me on Twitter, Facebook, whatever it is. I'll get you in touch with the right people so that you can get a group of tickets and everything. Okay. Again, it's going to be a lot of fun, man. And I can't wait to call the fights. I love calling the fights from ringside. It's always fun to do that. Of course, I love being in the ring and doing my thing inside the ropes, but as I get older, it's much more comfortable to be outside the ropes and just call the action, man. So I'm really looking forward to that. Before I go any further, I also want to show you guys this, and I shared this on my personal channel, but I wanted to share it here on the show. Feet First Foundation. Feet First Foundation. I want to thank Lukey Boxing for sending me this tee. These guys are sponsored by the WBC. WBC Cares, and I talk about the WBC before, how they do a lot of charity work. Guys, look up Feet First Foundation and what they do. They work with youth. They use boxing to improve and maintain the confidence, the mental health, the discipline of kids. I love what these guys do. They have an awesome website. Go there, check it out. They actually have a program where they'll teach you what they do with the kids, and you can bring that to your organization, whether it's a church or school, whatever it is, and you can teach the program to children as well. So I love what they're doing at Feet First Foundation. We'll talk more about this in the coming weeks and months on my show, but I just wanted to give them a quick plug, okay? And again, I've talked about it on my personal YouTube channel. I just wanted to get a plug in here on Ring's channel as well. So make sure you check them out. Just Google them and look at what they're doing. It's pretty freaking awesome. All right, some quick news. Can we just start calling PBC? It's Premier Boxing Champions, but I think I'm going to start calling them pay-per-view boxing champions, because boy, do they like to do pay-per-views. So it was announced last week that Luis Ortiz and Charles Martin, two of the all-time great heavyweights, I'm kidding, of course, are going to headline a New Year's Day pay-per-view card from Hollywood, Florida. Just to put this into perspective, Luis Ortiz, who's 4,000 years old, fought once in 2020, has not fought at all this year. Charles Martin fought once in 2020, has not at all fought once this year. Remember, he walks the earth like a god, though. Look, if these two are fighting on New Year's Day on Fox during the afternoon, I think this would be really, really cool. I'd be all on board with that. And there's a couple interesting heavyweight fights on this card and stuff. But, man, go with a pay-per-view, and this is like college football game day, right? New Year's Day, there's all these bowl games. You're going to go up against the bowl games on pay-per-view? Are you shitting me? Good luck with that. That's a pay-per-view I won't be getting. Again, if this was on regular Fox or FS1 or something, or even if they were streaming it, does Fox have an app? I know Showtime does. If they were streaming this, that'd be smart business. And I think that'd be a lot of fun, because a lot of you guys are going to be probably still a little drunk on New Year's Day, and you're going to be recovering that afternoon. Who wouldn't like to watch some fights? But you want to shell out an extra $40 after you drop 200 at the bar the night before? I don't think so. Also announced, this fight will take place in Manchester, February 19th, Amir Khan versus Kell Brook. Some people are excited. Some people are appalled. Look, we always knew they were eventually going to do that fight, right? Because it's there. So, yeah, is it 10,000 years past its due date? Sure. It's well past its due date. It's well past its best weight, but it'll do some business. People will buy and watch this fight. Now, most people will probably stream it, because I think it's going to be Sky Sports pay-per-view over there in the UK. But, it is what it is. I'm not surprised by this. I'm not appalled by this at all. It makes perfect sense to me. All right. Let me jump in the comments real quick before I get into the review. And oh boy, it's going to be a doozy today, guys. It's going to definitely be a doozy. Let's see. CJ is already in the chat. He usually comes on late. What's up, CJ? Luke says, so happy for Kambosos. Great win. Long live the king. And Captain Hook Chronicle says, people learn English. Listen to the show. Oh, Ahmed says, salute MOB. Salute to you, sir. Christopher says, present. Mitch Pryor says, rant and rave. Never. Aha, I see what you did there. Hey, I like to rant and rave. It is what it is. After being around family all weekend, there was a lot of ranting and raving. It's actually, I'm at home now alone. Tiffany, my wife, stayed back with my sister for a couple weeks to help her with the baby. It's nice and quiet in my house. I'm having a great day, guys. Joe Surratt says, hi, MOB. I put money on Kambosos. Damn. Well, Joe, then you got paid because those odds were crazy, my man. Those odds were insane. CJ says, the day after Thanksgiving is forever an unofficial holiday. RIP Patrice O'Neal. Yeah, man, I miss Patrice so bad. By the way, the day after Thanksgiving, I didn't go shopping. I didn't do shit. I took my little nephew Luca for a walk, and then we went to the brewery. And they had this back room, this playroom where he could run around and play. And I sat there and drank beers with my dad and my wife. That shit was pretty cool, man. Ray says, walks to Earth. That's right, man. Walks to Earth on pay-per-view now, apparently. Twal says, the most avoided heavyweight ever versus former world champ Ortiz versus Martin. Leave out the details. Yeah, that's definitely how it's going to be marketed. You know how it is. Megalodon79 says, long live George K. the Emperor. And boy, was he the Emperor the other day. Mandeli says, Kambosos got me $400 on a $30 bet. Damn. Man, I need to start betting. I don't gamble, but man, I could probably make some freaking money. It's just, I just don't want to open up that can of worms, as they say. I grew up around wise guys that literally paid their mortgage and their mistress's mortgage, and they paid several mortgages just milking dudes who are degenerate gamblers. I mean, I just grew up in a neighborhood around all that. Drugs was around, people were dealing drugs. Yeah. But the bread and butter, it didn't matter what, if the economy was good, bad, whatever, you can always depend on degenerate gamblers to owe you money, man. I just never wanted to gamble. I never wanted to do drugs either, seeing that shit. But seeing degenerate gamblers, like, I could just never understand, and these guys would be into bookmakers for thousands of dollars, and I'm like, nah, I'm never gambling. Never gambling. Sam says, Figueroa got robbed. I don't know about robbed. We'll talk about that later for sure. We're going to talk about that. Rich Lopez in the chat, he says, Mike, what's up, man? It's good to have you on, Rich. Sam says, Russell got a gift decision also. Now, that one's interesting. That was a tough fight for one of the 18 Russell brothers that actually had a fight. Mark says, man, I had a feeling about Kambosos too. Look, I told you, you guys know I favored Lopez to win, and I thought it'd be a decision, maybe a late stoppage, but I thought he'd win, but I thought it'd be competitive. And it was crazy when I was seeing tweets from people saying, oh, second round knockout, third round knockout. Now, to be clear, I said all along, that's not a pay-per-view fight. Because remember, that was originally a fucking pay-per-view. And I said, this isn't a pay-per-view fight. So I kind of, dissed the fight in that respect. But I always thought this was a fairly competitive matchup. And I got to give a shout out to my coach, Christian Steele, who told me all along, he goes, dude, George's going to do this. He told me earlier this year, like January, February, we were talking about it when I just started training with him. He was telling me, because he knew George, he knows George, and he called it. He's been calling it all year. And, I texted my coach this week and I'm like, dude, you fucking called it, man. I had to tell him. All right, let's get into this. Let's get into this review. I can't get my words straight. And let's just jump right into it, guys. Saturday, November 27th, Matchroom on the Zone, Madison Square Garden Theater, New York. George Kambosos Jr. improves to 20-0 with 10 knockouts with a split decision win over Teofimo Lopez, gives him his first loss, wins the undisputed lightweight championship. This has to be the upset of the year, okay? And I know a lot of you guys will say, well, what about Sandor Martin beating Mikey Garcia? No, this is bigger. What about Kiko Martinez coming back to knock out Kid Galahad? Nope, this is bigger. This wasn't a fluke KO in a fight that one guy was losing, like Kiko Martinez. This wasn't Sandor Martin fighting a guy that's basically half retired in his brain and overrated anyway in Mikey Garcia. This is a mandatory, okay? And the odds for this fight, you guys saw, I read some of the comments. Mendelli said a $30 bet got him $400, right? I think the odds are like minus 1,500, something crazy. A mandatory from Australia, who had never been tested on this level. He had fought a couple quality guys and barely won those fights. He won them, but they were close. Comes over and fights the guy that came off the best performance by a young American boxer in a generation. And that was Teofimo Lopez when he beat Lomachenko late last year. So this was huge. And this wasn't, again, fluke knockout, catching a guy, past his prime, whatever. No, this was two dudes in their physical prime. And Kambosos won the damn fight over 12 rounds. Dropped Teo. Teo ain't been dropped since, I want to say it was like his pro debut or something. He got dropped. It was a flash knockdown. No, he was hurt in this fight. Busted up, bloodied. Kambosos was down and hurt in the 10th round. I thought he was really, really hurt. And I actually thought at that point, my literal thoughts were, shit, Teo's got 2 rounds to follow up on this. He cut the distance down. Kambosos gave it a good run. And it looks like my prediction is going to come out pretty much spot on. Teo had a tough fight. He showed some grit, came back, and he's going to knock him out in the 11th, 12th round and get the W and escape with a close one. That was my thought. And what happens in the 11th round, man? Kambosos comes out and wins emphatically, decisively wins that 11th round and cuts Teofimo. And Lopez just wasn't the same after that, dude. And then let's talk about real quickly about the 12th round. A lot of people surprisingly scored that round, including 2 of the judges scored that round for Teofimo Lopez. And I don't know what the fuck you guys were watching. In the last 2 rounds, in the 11th and 12th round, Kambosos outlanded Lopez 41-16. Outlanded. And most of those were power punches, by the way. 41-16. Now, I'm no math genius, but that's more than double. That's about 2.5 times, 250% outlanded Lopez. In the 12th round, Kambosos outlanded Lopez 26-9, 24-7 in power punches in the 12th round. And some of you gave that 12th round to Teo. I don't know what the fuck you're smoking, but pass that shit, homie, because I just, that's not what I saw. I saw Teo make a last stand in that 10th round and drop Kambosos, and most fighters in Kambosos's position right there would have faltered, right? Because you guys all saw him like stumbling back to his corner after that 10th round. He was hurt, man. His legs were shaky, wasn't all there. And we all saw it. It looked like, okay, Teo's got him now, right? This dude comes out in the last 2 rounds and again outlands 41-16. And in the 12th round, and this is where it comes down to corners. And oh boy, are we going to talk about corner work today. If you are in Teofimo Lopez's corner and you know you just lost that 11th round, right? You just gave up that 11th round after you had your man hurt but couldn't close the show. Going into that 12th round, would you not be imploring your fighter, dude, you got to win this round? Big. You got to at least put him down one more time. Maybe you got to knock him out to win this fucking fight. You're losing this fight. Go out, balls out, empty the gas tank. Wouldn't you be telling that to your fighter? Teo Sr. was like, nah, dog, take your time. Calm down. Go knock this motherfucker out. Like he was all over the fucking place, right? His advice was terrible. Oh, you win in the fight. You win in the fight. But you got to knock this motherfucker out. Quit playing. All over the place. Meanwhile, in Kambosos' corner, going into that 12th round, they were like, hey, man, don't leave this shit up to the judges. Don't give them any excuses. I'm paraphrasing, but go out there and volume, punch your ass off. And that's what he did. And he simply outworked Teo in the 12th round. And this scenario reminded me of, I mean, there's a bunch of examples I could bring up, okay? But I was ringside when Canelo Alvarez fought Erislandy Lara. And Erislandy Lara was the veteran fighter in that situation, right? He was the boxer, the more skilled guy, quote unquote, at least on paper. I had him ahead after 9 rounds. Going into the championship rounds, I had him ahead. And I guarantee you, regardless of what he says, Canelo Alvarez and Reynoso and that team, they had Lara ahead after 8 or 9 rounds too. Because Canelo came out in the championship rounds and put a stamp, like he stamped his foot down and said, this is my fucking victory. I'm taking this shit. And that's what he did. And I thought that he pulled out that victory against Lara. And that's what I thought we were going to see from Teo here. I expected that Canelo-esque type of thing. And he didn't do it. The 10th round, he kind of shot his wad, and that was it. And it was actually Kambosos who rose another level in those final 2 rounds and took this win. So the scores, Glenn Feldman had it 115-112, and Frank Lombardi had it 115-111. So both guys were knocked down. So that's basically 8 rounds to 4. And it looks like Feldman had maybe 8 rounds to 4, or maybe with 1 round even. Okay. And that's how they got to their scorecards. Don Trella had this fight 114-113 for Lopez. So that means he saw 7 rounds for Teofimo Lopez. Don used to be a good judge, but increasingly in recent years, he's had questionable scorecards where he tends to give the benefit of the doubt to the A side. I believe he was one of the judges in the first fight between Canelo and Golovkin. And he scored, I think it was maybe the 10th round. Don't quote me here, guys, but it was one of the later rounds that even Adelaide Byrd scored for Triple G. He scored it for Canelo. Correct me if I'm wrong here. I might be getting my judges and fights mixed up, but I'm pretty sure it was him. Anyway, either way, Trella has had some questionable scorecards in recent years. I don't know how you see 7 rounds to Teofimo Lopez in this fight. I just don't know. You'd have to bend over backwards to give him 5 or 6 rounds. The best you could do for Teo in this fight was a draw. You could go as far as 8 rounds to Kambosos. You could go as close as 6 rounds apiece if you're given every benefit of every doubt to Teofimo Lopez. So I thought Don Trella's scorecard was shit. And for the two of these judges to give that 12th round to Teo, again, go back and watch that shit and just look at who did the work, who punched more, who landed more. It was Kambosos. And that was the most impressive part to me, was how he finished this fight and how he put a stamp on it to where you could really leave no doubt. Had Teo won the 11th and 12th on my card, he would have won this fight. Had he just won one of those rounds, it would have been a draw on my card. And he couldn't do it. He just couldn't do it. Okay. Let me share a couple tweets with you guys, because I have to share these tweets and maybe explain them a little bit to get into some of my rants. Okay. So real quick, I want to share, first of all, a meme with you. And of course, I took some heat on Twitter for this. So this is for those of you listening to the audio. I just tweeted, who did this? Right. And it's a meme of Teofimo Lopez with his busted up face saying, I won 10 of 12 rounds, change my mind. Right. And you guys see the response, man, over 300 retweets, almost 2,000 likes. So I had a couple viral tweets this weekend. This was one of them, but a lot of people responded to me like, oh, why are you hating on him? First of all, I didn't make the fucking meme. I just shared it. I didn't make it. I just shared it because guess what? It's funny. And I'm not trying to beat up on anybody when they're down, but he knows in his heart of hearts, Teo Jr. and Teo Sr. both know they didn't win no damn 10 rounds in this fight. In the way that they responded before the fight, during the fight, and particularly after the fight, was just cringe at times. When Teo Jr. grabbed the mic, I want to say he grabbed the mic from Kambosos or whoever was doing the post-fight interview. I can't remember who was doing the post-fight interview. But he took the mic from him and went on this bizarre rant where his dialect changed, his accent changed. I'm like, when the fuck did Teofimo Lopez turn into Slim Shady? He sounded like Eminem all of a sudden. I'm like, why are you talking like this, dude? He went on this bizarre rant with some religious references and references to family and all this kind of shit. And then he says that he won the fight and he dominated the fight and he got robbed and this, that, the other. And then later on, we hear Teo Sr. saying, yeah, we won 10 rounds. They really, really doubled down on that, okay? It wasn't just an immediate emotional reaction. Later on that night, you guys have seen some of the interviews posted on social media. These dudes have both been saying that they dominated this fight and they got robbed. So there's a certain level of delusion there and just flat out ignorance. So let me share one other tweet real quick. And then I'll get into some ranting. Where is it at? Where's it at? Oh, here we go. Okay. Now, again, I'll read this for those of you listening to the audio pod. And again, this one went viral too, man. A lot of responses here. Let me see. Let me click on the tweet activity. 155,000 impressions this tweet did. Okay. So I got a lot of traffic on Twitter this weekend. That says, I can't think of a fighter in recent years who's fallen off the mountaintop as swiftly and sharply as Teofimo Lopez has. You think of where he was at the beginning of this year and where he is now with a catastrophic example of career mismanagement. And once again, I took some heat for that. And there were some people that were triggered. And people were trying to say that I'm a hater. And they were adding their own context. They were adding their own verbiage and adding stuff that I didn't say. So let me just put this on record, okay, and explain that tweet. Here's what I did not say. I did not say that Teofimo Lopez Jr.'s career is over. I did not say he's a hype job. I did not say he won't recover from this. I did not say that everyone should pound on the guy when he's down. I didn't say any of those things. If you are adding that, and that's what you're interpreting from my tweet, that's on you, homie. That's your own prejudices and biases and insecurities coming through, because I didn't say any of that in my damn tweet. Here's what I was saying. The handling of Teofimo Lopez Jr.'s career subsequent to his big coming out party, his launching pad win against Vasily Lomachenko late last year, has been catastrophically bad. It has been a fucking circus clown shit show. A steaming hot pile of shit in the sun. That's what it's been. Okay? And I'm not talking about Top Rank, because let me be clear about this. Top Rank had a plan. Top Rank's business plan, and all you guys got to do is Google. It wasn't that long ago. You can look this shit up. Don't take my word for it. But their business plan was essentially, look, you got this mandatory fight against Kambosos. We want to knock this shit out in March or April. It's not a big fight. It's a $2.5-3 million fight. We're going to knock this shit out, and then we're going to get to a Lomachenko rematch. That's the lucrative fight. We're going to do that in the summer, maybe early fall. You get those 2 W's, and then if you are feeling healthy enough and you want to do it, you got a voluntary defense at the very end of the year against a soft touch. You name whoever the fuck you want, you got it. And then you're going to dump your 135 titles, having had defended your undisputed championship 2 or 3 times, having 2 wins against a future Hall of Famer in Lomachenko, and having made several $1 million in 2021. You're still on the pound for pound list. You're still the undisputed lightweight champion. You dump your lightweight titles. You announce you're moving up to 140. We start building you up there in 2022. That sounds like a pretty good plan, right? I don't know. Top Rank has been in this business for 50 plus years. They kind of know what they're doing. As I have explained a bunch of times on this show, the last few faces of the sport, they built them. I won't go down the list of names for the 500th time. You guys know them. They built these fighters, okay? They know what they're doing. The roads were paved with gold for Teofimo Lopez. There wasn't much struggle. He signed with Top Rank, and there was a manicured, beautifully landscaped path for him to walk down. And they beautifully crafted his career and guided it up until that fight with Lomachenko, where it was his fight to lose. He had all the physical advantages in that fight. The only disadvantage he had was in terms of experience. Gets the W, shocks the world, right? And is in position going into this year to truly, to live up to his moniker, take over shit, right? Of all the 5 young pups that we talk about, right around the lightweight division, Teo had accomplished more than all of them in one night, accomplished more than all of them combined in one night. And that was Top Rank's guidance. I sound like a PR person for fucking Top Rank. Let me be clear. Top Rank does a ton of shit that I don't agree with. And they're part of the problem in a lot of ways, just like every other promoter. But they are the best promoter in the business. And they really know what the fuck they're doing. Okay. And they guided this kid's career to this beautiful launching pad. Then Teo's team just went crazy. They thought, the only, I'm trying to think of like a scenario where that makes sense, like a comparison. Think of like when human beings landed on the moon, right? Teofimo Lopez and his team thought that beating Lomachenko was landing on the moon. What they didn't realize is it was just taking off. That win was the rocket taking off from Cape Canaveral or whatever the hell, I don't even know where the Apollo missions flew from. Houston, wherever. It wasn't, they didn't land on the moon. They just took off. The rocket just took off the ground. That's what that fight was. That's what that W was. And this is a problem I see with a lot of these young fighters now, particularly, I hate to say this, but particularly American fighters, young American fighters. These dudes get one big W and they think they're fucking Floyd Mayweather. They think they're Oscar De La Hoya. They think they're Mike Tyson. They think they made it. Nah, dude. That one big W is your Teofimo Lopez beating Lomachenko. That was his introduction to the casual sports fan base. That was his introduction to the mainstream sports media, because that rating that they did on, remember, that fight was regular ESPN, and Lomachenko made concessions to get that fight done. Unlike this fight between Lopez and Kambosos. And Top Rank did as well. ESPN, all parties involved did. It was on regular ESPN, not pay-per-view. It did a big rating. It did one of the best ratings in recent years for a regular non-pay-per-view fight like that. And a lot of people got to see who Teofimo Lopez was. That was his introduction, dude. You ain't made it. You're just starting to get on the radar. And I see it over and over and over and over again. Some of these guys, they might not even have a win like that, but they have a win where they get a piece of a title or something. They get $200,000, $300,000. That's enough money. You know, I grew up in Detroit. That's enough money to buy a really nice house in Detroit or St. Louis or here in Atlanta. So these guys get a little bit of money like that, and they buy a car and they buy a house. They're like, I got it made, homie. They're 23. They got 60, 70 more years to live. They don't think long game, right? These guys don't listen to their team that they have around them, or they don't listen to the smart people they have around them. Maybe they listen too much to their direct team who isn't so smart. So in the case of Teofimo Lopez, I'm not going to go down the whole scenario with the purse bid earlier this year, and I'm not going to break that down tit for tat. I'll just say this much, guys. Top Rank was trying to negotiate the Lopez Kambosos fight in January. That purse bid, that shit feels like it was a couple months ago. That shit was in February, yo. That whole thing was playing out 10 months ago, guys. And they wanted to knock that shit out. And I get it. Grandpa Bob's cheap. He put up like 2-point-something million. Eddie Hearn put up 3-point-something million. And then Triller comes in with this massive bid, right? It's like double Matchrooms and like triple Top Ranks. And what does Teo and his team do? Oh, shit. Show me the money, right? Boom. They go in with Triller. What happened there? Triller defaulted, right? And the date, venue, promoter, and network platform of this fight has changed like 8 times, dude. It changed cities. It changed zip codes, time zones. It was from what, ESPN to Triller pay-per-view to DAZN. Has you ever seen a fucking fight like this change so many different places? And then there's COVID in the mix, if you believe that, because it was the week of the fight that this shit was supposed to go down. I think Florida, and then I got COVID. But okay, maybe you do. Okay, it just looked a little suspicious. I'm just saying, it's been this ride, right? And all of this, 100% of it was on Team Lopez. And what's crazy is I'm seeing people on Twitter saying, "Oh man, Triller fucked him. This is Triller's fault. Triller fucked Teo." Really? What the hell are you talking about, dude? Triller doesn't know what the fuck they're doing when it comes to boxing. They've had a couple of big events, but they had more to do with the music acts, right? When it comes to boxing, they don't know what the fuck they're doing. I saw people immediately asking, dude, what if these guys default? As soon as they won that purse bid, and that was one of them. I was like, damn, what if they default? And it ends up they default and it went to the second highest bidder, which was Matchroom, and that's how we got to where we got to. But to put any of this on Grandpa Bob and Top Rank because they didn't bid enough for what you guys out there feel they should have bid for that fight, as if you know more than they know. They've only been in the business for a half a century, and you're some guy sitting on your couch crushing a fucking hot dog or something. But because they didn't bid as much as you think they should have bid, it's Bob Arum's fault that Teo lost Saturday. Because Triller has no idea what the fuck they're doing, and they grossly overbid for this fight and then completely ruined the promotion. It was a catastrophe and then defaulted. It's somehow their fault that Teo lost this fucking fight. Are you serious? Teo Sr., the trainer, right? The one who's guided his son to where he is now. Do you know what he was doing before the fight? When Teo Jr. was warming up in the dressing room, do you know what Sr. was doing? He was out in the audience talking to fans, and he was inside the ring doing a dance-off with his son's belts in front of the fans. He wasn't back there humbly getting his fighter ready. He was dancing and shucking and jiving and taking photos and doing YouTube video interviews on people's cell phones out in the crowd. That's what Teo Sr. was doing. It's kind of sad because Teofimo Lopez Sr. is living vicariously through his son. And if you can't see that, then you're motherfucking Ray Charles, okay? Because it's pretty clear. It's sad to see. And for the record, I didn't like what I saw with this guy 2-3 years back when everyone thought he was awesome. I remember the Lopez's being on the 3 Knockdown Rule podcast, Steve Kim and Mario Lopez's podcast. And I remember listening to that while I was in the gym. And again, this goes back several years, okay? This is before the Lomachenko fight, all that. And Teo Sr. talked 90% of the show. Straight up. He talked more than both hosts combined. Teo Jr. got 10 words in the entire fucking show. And I said right then and there, this guy's trouble. This dude's trouble. And that's something I see with fathers a lot. There's a prospect that I saw fight here in Atlanta. I know his former publicist. I know his new publicist. He's having the same issue right now with his father and can't even see that yet. That's a train wreck coming. I'm not even going to name the kid's name, but he's nowhere near as accomplished as Teofimo Lopez. This is something I see with a lot of these father-son trainer relationships where the father is living vicariously through their kid. And Teo Sr., for the last year, has been going around and doing all these media events, acting like he won the fucking belts, acting like he's the one who's run thousands of miles, taken thousands of punches, bled and sweat, and he was the one who went in there and beat Lomachenko. It's been kind of crazy to see. And so I'm not blaming Senior entirely for this loss. Of course not. Teo Jr., again, he's the guy in the ring that's got to perform. But did you guys hear the corner advice? It was fucking awful. And I was tweeting that during the fight. This is awful. And the cut man didn't do very well. That entire corner was unprepared. It was clear that they took Kambosos way too lightly, which happens. But if you take your opponent lightly and suddenly it's like, oh shit, okay, we're in a real fight, you got to be able to regroup, make adjustments, and show that level of professionalism. And the corner just didn't have that. Here's what it looks like right now. Okay, we'll find out in the coming months and years. But it looks like Teo Sr. is one of these guys that groomed his son and deserves a lot of credit because he really did groom and guide and raise a son that became one of the best martial artists on earth in boxing. Okay, he does deserve some credit for that. Absolutely does. And they targeted Vasily Lomachenko specifically. He saw something in Lomachenko that they could exploit style-wise the first time around. They didn't want to do a series of fights with Loma because 2-3 fights that ain't going to work out as well. But they knew that they could surprise him stylistically, that they brought certain things to the table and they could exploit certain things from Loma the first time around before Loma kind of caught up to what they were doing, which he did in the second half of their first fight, by the way, or their only fight, I should say. And great game plan for Lomachenko, called him out, went out there and did the damn thing. Cool, man. Cool. But against a much lesser fighter, no disrespect to Kambosos, but he is a lesser fighter than Lomachenko. He's not as good as Lomachenko. He's just not, okay? And there's no shit. There's no harm in that. But that's the real. Against a lesser fighter who had less dimensions, you couldn't make adjustments. You couldn't give your fighter technical advice and explain what was happening. How did Kambosos continue to land overhand right hands? How did he continue to land that left jab, left hook combo over and over and over? How did he continue to land body punches? How did he continue to land punches and then get out before Teo could counter? How was he able to see every punch Teo was throwing? So even when Teo hit him with flush, hard shots, Kambosos was able to just roll with it just enough to where he was able to absorb it and continue. How was he able to do that, dude? How are they able to see all those things and make adjustments, including, as I talked about minutes ago, the championship rounds of this fight after being hurt? They made an adjustment. 11th, 12th round, clearly won those rounds. How are they able to outmaneuver you, dude, if you're this amazing maestro of a trainer? Shouldn't happen. Shouldn't happen. So I think right now for Teofimo Lopez Jr., obviously it's a move up to 140 next. And he needs somebody on his team to sit him down alone, away from daddy, away from David McWaters, the manager who is completely out of his depths. Get him alone in a room and talk some real to him. And not just some real about what happened against Kambosos, but some real about the fight with Lomachenko. Because they've been going around saying, oh man, we won 10, 11 rounds of that fight. And a lot of you same motherfuckers out there that had that shit, like 10 rounds to 2, somehow found a way to give Lopez this fight against Kambosos. Just stop. Lopez beat Lomachenko, but Lomachenko won the second half of that fight 4 rounds to 2. He found something after fighting like shit in the first half, basically not even fighting. And there was something that happened there, a little tweak, something that he caught up to and something that he sounds, something he found and discovered that Team Lopez knows deep down inside. And Bob Arum at Top Rank have been adamant that they wanted to do a rematch this year between Lopez and Lomachenko. And what did Team Lopez say? Oh, we ain't doing a rematch. Fuck that. Fuck Lomachenko. We don't like him. We're not doing a rematch. The guy you've been targeting for a decade, according to Teo Sr., you don't want to do a rematch? The guy that is the most lucrative fight option you have available right now in terms of guys who will actually fight you, you want to do a rematch? The guy that you won 10, 11 rounds against and dominated, and could have knocked out, but you took off the gas in the later rounds. You don't want a rematch? Yeah, you need to hear some hard truth about that fight. Not just this fight against Kambosos. There's some hard truth that this kid needs to hear. And then you need to do a rebuilding and restructuring of that whole team and move them up to 140. I'm not one to put everything on a trainer and a team when somebody suffers a first loss like this, but clearly there is an issue there. And they need to bring in another coach, even if they want to keep Senior around, which I don't think is a good idea. And look, I get it that apparently Teofimo Lopez had some family issues coming into this fight. Him and his baby mama, wife broke up. The mom never liked him anyway. The mom never liked her. The dad liked her. There's just all this turmoil. I get it. You know what? How about you get him away from all that shit? How about you take him out to the Top Rank compound out there in Las Vegas and get him around people that are going to have him focus 100% on boxing? How about that shit? So it's somebody at Top Rank, because they made it a serious investment in this kid. They need to go and have a hard talk with him. And I think that if that happens and they make some changes, he's still a gifted fighter. He's still one of the bright young talents in this sport. Okay. His career's nowhere near being over. And people comparing him to Adrian Broner and shit, that's not fair. Now, he's delusional as fuck. And the things he said after the fight, they're almost as bad as Deontay Wilder. Not quite that bad. He didn't accuse anybody of attempted murder. He didn't accuse his dad of spiking his water. But there is a certain level of delusion there. And they need to be brought back down to earth. And that starts with getting that father out of the fucking corner, because his father's just living vicariously through his son and walking around pretending like, first of all, he dresses and acts like he's fucking 22 years old. Secondly, he's going around acting like he won the damn belts. All that shit is just a massive distraction, and it's keeping the focus away from boxing. All right. All right. Let's get to some super chats, and then I'm going to get into the rest of this review. Ray Valero with the super chat. Thank you so much, brother. He says, Teo's dad also said the first knockdown wasn't a hard shot and Lopez was only off balance. On top of the contradicting instructions, just horrible. Absolutely correct. Teofimo Lopez was hurt with that punch. You know why? Look at the way he fought the next few rounds. Look at the way he fought the middle rounds of that fight that Kambosos kind of pretty much swept. Yeah, it's because he was hurt, because he didn't want to get hit with that shot again. Was he like badly hurt? Was he as hurt as Kambosos was at the end of the 10th? No, I don't think that. I actually think Kambosos was more hurt because it was in the 10th round. He was tired. But look at the response from Kambosos in the subsequent rounds to him being dropped versus Teo's response from him being dropped. That tells you everything you need to know, guys. Mark Ashley with the super chat. Thank you so much. He says, 2 fights in a row where the father trainer seems to be the problem. So often a bad combination. You are so right, Mark. And look, there are father-son combinations who accomplished great things in this sport. The Calzaghes, great things there. But there was a dynamic between the two of them where Enzo Calzaghe never pulled any punches with his son. And he told them what the fuck was up. He didn't blow smoke up his ass. And too many of these father trainers, they do that and or live vicariously through their kids. Danny Garcia's father was another one. I'm like, why are we hearing more from Angel Garcia than Danny Garcia? What the fuck? Did Enzo Calzaghe ever do that with Joe Calzaghe? Nope. Didn't do it. All right, let's see. I know we had more super chats. Let me make sure I get to them. Comment section's on fire today. Taurine Falk with the super chat. Thank you so much. He says, when Bob lost all his star heavyweights to Don King and still survived, who the fuck is Teofimo Lopez and is drunk off a father to Bob? Is drunk of a father to Bob Arum. Good point. I can't put it quite as articulately as you did, my friend, but yeah, you make a great point. Look, Bob Arum in Top Rank, again, I'm not trying to be a PR guy for Top Rank. There's plenty of things they do that drive me nuts, but they've been in this game for a long time. And they knew that one thing Grandpa Bob doesn't do, he's cheap. He is not going to overpay his fighters. He doesn't do it. If he overpays a fighter, it's on the back end of a contract after they've done business together for years. And he has done that. But there was no way he was going to overpay for this Teo Kambosos fight. The truth is, guys, this fight should have been knocked out in March or April. We should be talking about a rematch between Teo and Lomachenko right now. That's what we should be talking about. In fact, that should have already happened a couple months ago. That's what Top Rank wanted to do. And had Teofimo Lopez and his team just listened, yeah, maybe you don't get as much money for that one fight, but collectively with the 2 or 3 fights you would have had this year, you get significantly more money and you keep your fucking belts. Now you got paid less money overall. You sat in your ass for most of this year and didn't get paid. And it's not like he got significantly more money. Matchroom offered, I think, maybe $1 million more, and Teo gets the bulk of that. But it's like he ended up getting, I don't know, $600,000-$700,000 more. By the time the tax man and his team gets, he got a couple $100,000 more in the end, and he lost all of his belts. So you tell me what was the smarter play. And the funny part is, I saw an interview where Teo Sr. After the fight was saying, yeah, man, we should have just been nicer to Top Rank. We shouldn't have went to the zone. We should have just been nicer to Top Rank. It's like, really, dude? You were the ones telling us, oh, we're playing chess. Y'all playing checkers. Fuck Grandpa Bob. 6 months ago, that's what you were saying. Now it's, oh, we should have been nicer to. This shit's hilarious. Sam with the super chat. Thank you, Sam. He says, Teo acts like he will dominate 140. I don't think so. He gets hit too much and is a predictable puncher. Regis and Taylor would beat him up. Oof. I've been talking about a fight between, and by the way, that's what Top Rank wanted to do in 2022. They wanted a fight between Teofimo Lopez and Josh Taylor at 140. That's really what they wanted, because that would have been a huge fight. I think Taylor would probably be too much for him, but man, Regis Prograis, with his explosive power and the way he has shown the ability to take a punch, I think Regis Prograis might beat this guy. Seriously, man. Because remember, Regis had a close fight with Taylor. That was a close fight between those two. So let me see. Did I miss? Oh, no, there's one more. Feeling dangerous with the super chat. Thank you so much, brother. He says, hey, Mike, another crazy upset on a Matchroom card. That's a good point. There is a theme with those Matchroom cards. He says, I couldn't watch your last show live, but I heard you saying that Janibek should be made mandatory to boo-boo. Will there be a ruling on that soon? Yes, the WBO is going to have a ruling on that soon. I don't know the exact date. I believe it will be in December. Do not quote me on that. But yes, because Jaime Munguia basically told the WBO, I don't want to fight Boo-Boo Andrade. Don't want to fight him. So they are going to remove him, as I understand it, and bump Janibek up. The question is, are they going to mandate a fight? Are they going to mandate, hey, here's the date, you got to negotiate a fight by this date, or else it goes to purse bid? Like, I don't know any of that stuff, but there should be a ruling on that coming up in the next month or so. Absolutely. All right, I think I caught up on those. Whew, man. All right. Continuing with the review, TGB Promotions, PBC on Showtime, Park Theater, Las Vegas. This was a fun PBC card, but I'm going to call it the majority decision card, because every single fight was a majority decision. There was one judge had every single one of these fights a draw, which is kind of interesting. Gary Antonio Russell barely ekes by Alexandro Santiago in a bantamweight fight, and a majority decision. A lot of people felt Santiago might have eked this one out, but it was very, very close. He got in some good rounds against a tough, experienced guy. I think this fight's going to make Russell better. This is the kind of matchup that Gary Russell Jr. never really had, as he was padding his record with like 30-plus wins before he fought Lomachenko. For Gary Antonio Russell, I think that, he barely squeezed by there. Okay, I hear you. But I think that this is going to make him a better fighter. So this was a good matchmaking for him as a prospect. In the co-main, Rais Alim improves to 19-0 with 12 knockouts with a majority decision over Mexican-born California fighter Eduardo Baez in a junior featherweight fight. This was another one where a lot of people were split, okay? If you look at the punch numbers, it looks like Alim dominated this fight. But Baez in the second half really made a big push and was landing some big right hands. And Alim took him well, but it was concerning if you're, a member of Alim's team or a fan of his, that he took so many shots like that. And I don't know how he's going to hold up in the second half of a fight against a guy like Stephen Fulton or Brandon Figueroa, somebody like that. Speaking of those two, in the main event, Fulton ekes out a majority decision against Figueroa. This was a junior featherweight unification. Fulton is now 20-0, but only 8 knockouts. And as I said last week, and for the record, I thought Fulton was going to put on a statement-making performance. I thought that he was going to win 9 rounds of this fight. That's not what we saw. But I did mention that his lack of punching power is going to cost him. And it really cost him in this fight, because Figueroa is a big physical guy. I believe he's going to move up to featherweight next year. He's huge for this division. And the weight cut hurts him a lot, getting down to 22. Fulton he much more skilled, sharper puncher, more accurate puncher, but he muscled him pretty well at times, but Figueroa just too big, too physical. And he couldn't hurt the guy. He just couldn't hurt him. And that played a toll. It made this fight very, very close. 2 judges had this 116-112. David Sutherland had it 114-114. If you look at the CompuBox, punch numbers were pretty close, man. Figueroa threw a lot more. He threw over 1,000 punches, but he landed a few more too. But his accuracy was 30%. Fulton's accuracy was 37%. Jabs, power punching, body punching, all pretty close. In terms of punches landed. So this really came down to who did you favor? The guy who is more active, who threw 300 plus more punches, Figueroa did, but he only landed about 40 more punches. So do you favor the guy that's throwing more punches, or do you favor the guy who's more accurate and more crafty? I had no problem with Fulton getting the nod here. It felt like a 115, 113 Fulton kind of fight. If you had it a draw, I wouldn't be against that, but I just thought Fulton edged it. I just thought he had a little bit more in this fight, and he edged it. It was a good quality, fun fight. The 122-pound division, junior featherweight, is just a gift that keeps on giving. Pretty much every fight in that division is money. So if you ever see a fight in that division, on the schedule, make sure you check it out, because they almost always live up to expectations. But how is Fulton going to fare? Daniel Roman, former champion Daniel Roman, called out Stephen Fulton after this fight. If those two fight each other next year, that is a damn good matchup. And Fulton will be favored. I think he should be, but Roman will be a very, very live dog. I'm calling it now. That'll be a fantastic matchup if it can be made in 2022. Okay. Now that's the review. I think I got all my ranting out of the way. I'm sure we'll have more. Let's get to the preview. This Saturday, December 4th. And I talked about, for those of you just getting on the show, talked about the fact that here in Atlanta, there's a college fight night card. Georgia Tech is going up. The Georgia Tech boxing team is going up against University of Georgia's boxing team here in Atlanta at Buckhead Fight Club. It will be streamed, the live broadcast streamed for free, 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 on the WBC network. Yours truly, will be calling the action from ringside. Make sure you check that out, because it's going to be a lot of fun. But Matchroom on the Zone, MGM Grand Las Vegas, Devin Haney going up against Joseph Diaz Jr. for Haney's WBC lightweight title. I find it hilarious that Matchroom puts this on a week after the undisputed lightweight championship fight. Sneaky genius trolling from Eddie Hearn. Haney is 23 years old, Diaz 29. Haney a couple inches taller, 7 inches longer reach. 71 inches to 64 inches. That is going to be significant in this fight. Also, Haney's orthodox, Diaz is a southpaw. So a lot of people there on boxing social media, Twitter, what have you, are saying things like, I think we're going to see another upset. I think this is part 2 of what we saw last week. Guys, I don't see this fight that way. I just think that Haney is going to have a little too much craft, athleticism, length, height, even power to keep Diaz at bay. I think Diaz is a very live dog. Wouldn't shock me if Diaz pulled this out somehow, but I just favor Haney. And in fact, I favor him 116, 112, something like. I think he's going to win pretty clearly in this fight. That's just the way I see it. Maybe I'll be proven wrong, but that's the way I see this fight. I just don't know if Diaz is going to be able to catch him with something real hard that hurts him, that changes this fight. It could happen, and it wouldn't shock me, but I don't see it happening. Also on this card, Jessica McCaskill defending her undisputed welterweight championship against Argentinian Victoria Bustos, who lost to Cecilia Breckhus in 2019 at welterweight and Katie Taylor in 2018 at lightweight. Again, we keep going back to Katie Taylor, has the best resume in all of women's boxing. They hate on her a lot. Jessica actually had some kind of critical things to say about Katie Taylor at her upcoming fight. She was part of that DAZN broadcast this Saturday. I find that interesting because Taylor not only beat her, she beat the girl that she's about to fight this weekend. So I like Jessica. Jessica is, good fighter, undisputed welterweight champion of the world, a very good looking, beautiful woman. Easy on the eyes, very articulate, good on the mic, all of it. But the Katie Taylor criticism didn't make a lot of sense to me. Also on this card, a bunch of prospects. Montana Love, 16-0, 140-pounder, and undefeated heavyweight Filip Hrgović on this card as well. And those are all pretty much showcase fights. I saw Montana Love fight earlier this year in Atlanta. He definitely has some skills. Unrivaled with the super chat. Wow, Unrivaled. We haven't seen you in a while. What's up, Mark? Thank you. He says, you taking calls today, Mike? Yes, sir. As soon as I wrap up my preview here, we are taking calls. So get on the lines, my man, and we'll get you on. Let me see. Make sure I didn't miss any other super chats. Wow, man, the chat is just going freaking nuts today. Doesn't surprise me one bit. All right, hold on. I know I saw one more super chat. Want to make sure I hit it before we go any further. Sam, there's Sam again. Thank you, Sam. He says, I got a hunch that says Andre avoids Janibek at all costs and will complain no one wants to fight him. Brother, you're not alone in that hunch. It'll be very, very interesting and very, very telling if Janibek becomes the mandatory and Andre finds a way not to take that fight, especially coming from him because he's the guy who's bitched about nobody wanting to fight him for pretty much his whole career. He's been crashing press conferences and things like that for years, right? So if he don't fight Janibek, that's going to be a bad look. Real bad look. Okay, Sunday, December 5th, TGB Promotions, PBC on Showtime pay-per-view from Staples Center, Los Angeles. Let's talk about this undercard real quick. Mexico versus Colombia. Eduardo Ramirez versus Miguel Mariaga. 10 rounds featherweights. Sergey Derevyanchenko, old man, lost 3 of his last 4 fights. And those were all bruising, grueling fights. Going up against Carlos Adames. Style-wise, that's probably going to perform. Neither one of those guys hits very hard. And a prime Sergey Derevyanchenko handles Carlos Adames with ease. But right now, that's a highly competitive fight. Sebastian Fundora, the freak, all 6'5" of him, 17-0 southpaw, going up against Spaniard Sergio Garcia, who's 33-0, nice sparkling record, but this will be his first fight outside of Europe. This is a WBC junior middleweight eliminator, and Fundora is going to win this fight. Gervonta Davis, 25-0 in the main event, going up against Isaac Cruz for Davis's regular lightweight title. Oh, that made me sick to my stomach just saying that. I think I haven't been, it hasn't been confirmed yet by anyone on the team, but I do believe I will be covering this event for ringtv.com. So you can look for my reports and my recaps on our website, probably Sunday morning, because the main event probably won't start until Sunday morning. Look, guys, I'm going to cover this event. I'm going to cover it objectively, fairly. I'm going to give credit where credit's due for great performances and all that good stuff. But I'm also going to keep it real. I'm one of the few in the game that is not afraid to keep it real about what's going on with Team Tank Davis. So you can read the other guy. I'm not going to name their names, but you can read the other guys' recaps who do favors. They're going to sing the praises and say all sorts of really nice things. Or you can read my recap, which is going to tell the truth about this event. And that doesn't mean I'm going to hate. That doesn't mean I'm going to say a bunch of negative, critical things. I'm just going to tell the truth about what it is. By the way, Ring Magazine does not consider Davis's title a title. So in my recap, I will not refer to his title. That might trigger some of you, but we do not consider him to be a title holder, Tank Davis, at lightweight. So when I do my report about the main event, it's not going to mention the title, okay? Just trigger warning for some of you out there, because I know that's going to bother you. You're going to get your panties in a fucking wad. All right, it's time to go to the phones. Let's do this. It looks like Nacho is up first, so let's hit up Nacho. Nacho, what's up, man? The floor is yours.
Hey, Mike, what's going on? So just let me start off really quick with Lopez and Kambosos. I definitely like your nickname that you wrote on your Twitter handle, Mike 10-2 Montero. that was pretty awesome. I was like enjoying that. I totally agree with everything you've said about Team Lopez and his father. It's just become a real clown show over there. And having read the article about on Boxing Scene earlier today, kind of going into detail about some of the things that were going on behind the scenes with Lopez and his personal life and everybody that's like around him as far as his team. It's a sad situation. It just seems like that guy's head wasn't in it, and you could kind of tell from the performance that he wasn't completely there, and it cost him. I disagree with some of these people out here who are saying that like he's ruined and he's not going to be any good and all this other stuff. I think what'll happen is he'll go back to Top Rank. They'll figure out a way to rehab his career, and then eventually he'll get a shot at those titles at 140, whether Josh Taylor has them or not. I mean, he's going to get a shot at 140 to get a belt or two.
There'll be vacant titles. By the time Teo fights for titles at 140, they'll be vacant. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. He'll get a shot again, and his career will be fine. He'll be rebuilt, and I think the kid will have to kind of humble himself a little bit and just kind of figure out that he's going to have to go back to the drawing board after everything that happened. I mean, as far as like what's happened to his career, it's totally on him, his father, and the people, the yes men in his management that allowed him to get away with this stuff. It was just unbelievable that they allowed him to take control of the ship when they shouldn't have. They should have legitimately tried to steer him in a different direction. They didn't, and now it cost them, and now they have to go back and try to rebuild the kid, which I think will, happen eventually, but, time will tell how that goes. For Kambosos, you just have to give him his props. He went out there. He did what he had to do. He stood in the lion's den with Lopez. Even when Lopez knocked him down in the 10th round, you still saw a guy who wasn't like out on his feet, and he knew what was going on, and he was able to rally the last couple of rounds and pretty much show that even though Lopez dropped him, he wasn't going to take him out, and that's a huge win for Kambosos. It's going to lead to life-changing paydays. Hopefully, the only thing I have an issue with, Mike, is all of these Monday morning quarterbacks after the fight, like Shakur Stevenson, Ryan Garcia, and Devin Haney, all of a sudden throwing their hats into the ring saying, "Oh, I'll fight this guy. Yeah, I see it would be a good fight between us." Like, really? Like, now all of a sudden you guys want a piece of the champ when you wanted no part of Lopez, with the exception of Devin Haney being the only one who on paper said he was willing to fight him, whereas everyone else just kind of kept quiet. Now all of a sudden all these guys want a piece of Kambosos. I hope Kambosos goes back to Australia and he makes one of these guys prove that they're willing to travel down there to fight him, because none of these guys deserve a shot at those belts. And so if they're going to, get a shot, it should be on his terms, not anyone else's. There was one other fight on that card, Mike. The Ogawa Fuzili. I'm not sure how you say the other guy's name.
So, what, Japanese guy versus South
Ogawa,
African?
To me, yeah. There you go. The Japanese dude, Ogawa, he put it on the South African dude. And I couldn't believe the fact that guy, does he not get those 2 knockdowns towards the end of the fight? He would have lost that fight on those cards. Yeah. I don't know what the hell those judges were watching. That was horrible. Shit cards, man. Like, to me, he completely outboxed the South African dude, and he should have been winning that fight by at least 5 or 6 points, in my opinion, before the end of the fight. The fact that he needed those knockdowns just to win, that would have been a travesty if that guy would have gotten robbed. I mean, that's all I got to say about the judging that night in New York. That's horrible. And then with the other card, I agree. Russell Jr. got a test, maybe one that he didn't think he was going to get from the kid from Mexico. He gave him as good as he could. And I thought Russell was a little fortunate to walk away with that fight. I thought there could have been a case made that the other guy got a draw at the very least out of the fight. So it's going to be interesting to see how they move Russell from this point forward, because I think they thought this guy was going to be an easy, stay busy fight, and it ended up being a whole hell of a lot tougher than they imagined.
Yeah.
And then with Aleem, man, Aleem looked terrible. He looked rusty. He looked like his timing was off. He looked like he got tired in the second half of that fight, and he let Baez stay in that fight, and Baez actually gave him a rougher fight than he was thinking he was going to get. Same thing. I think he's very fortunate he got out of there with a majority decision, and I'm curious to see what they do with him next. He's not going to get a shot at the titles for sure, but I'd be interested to see what opponent they put in front of him next. I think with him, they have to keep him busier instead of letting him languish on the sidelines for months at a time like they did. But yeah, I'll be curious to see what they do next with Aleem, since I know he's not going to get a shot at the titles. And then with the main event, I think I had that fight going either way. You could have scored it 7-5, Mike, either way. I wouldn't have had a problem if they would have called it a draw. I just have an issue with the fact that two of those judges thought Fulton won 8 rounds. I thought that was a little unfair to Figueroa. I thought Figueroa had more than a few moments in the fight where he did something to Fulton that none of the other guys who had fought Fulton did before, and that was he was able to trap him in the corner on multiple occasions, and he was able to land a lot of hard body shots and a lot of head shots that looked like they rattled Fulton. And I hadn't seen Fulton get rattled before Saturday night. So I think it was a little unfair that they scored it so wide for Fulton. I think Figueroa deserved a little bit better faith in that. I would like to see a rematch. I don't think it's going to happen. I think Brandon has outgrown 22, and I think he needs to go to 26. So maybe down the line at some point, if Fulton goes up to 26, maybe we see a rematch at that point. But I think right now, I think Figueroa needs to move up and kind of start getting busy at 126, because I think he was really draining himself to get to 22, and it showed in that fight. He didn't have that extra little boost in his tank towards the end, and I think that kind of helped Fulton survive that onslaught towards the end. I think had Figueroa been able to make weight and not have trouble, I think he probably wins the fight. But that's how the fight game goes sometimes. And then for this weekend's fight, Mike, I agree. I think the only way I would love JoJo to win, because I think he's a guy that's very easy to root for. He goes out there and he gives it his all no matter what, even though he is a little bit of a limited fighter. But I think you're right, Mike. I think Haney and his team are going to literally try to just sticking and moving, and they're not really going to try to engage with him. They're going to just try to, outbox him and just try to win a decision, which, unfortunately, Haney's not going to be the type of guy who's going to go in there and be fan pleasing by any stretch. All he cares about is winning and getting his next payday. So I think Haney's going to probably win a decision. It'll be close, but I think he ends up winning a decision at the end of the day. As much as I want JoJo to pull off the upset, I'm with you, Mike. I would love to see it, but I right now I can't. But hey, that's why we fight the fights. I mean, I didn't think Kambosos would win, and look what happened.
That's right.
You just never know. Yeah. All right, Mike. I'm sure you got a bunch of other people waiting. That's my call.
All right, bro. Have a good night.
All right.
Okay. All right, we got a bunch of calls lining up here, guys. So just if you're on the line, just hang on. All right. I will get to you. All right. Let's see. Come on, phone. There we go. 570. You're on the show. What's up?
Mike, Thad here. I want to ask you something. If you and some of the Ring Magazine compatriots could come together and petition for 15-round fights coming back only when there's a unification match between two belt holders. Not when a guy unifies, when it's a unification between, say, a belt holder and another belt holder, or two belt holders and another belt holder. Because what we saw this weekend with Figueroa and Fulton, okay, if that was a 15-round fight, Figueroa knocks out Fulton. And I'm a little hot because I bet Stephen Fulton to win by decision, and I won my bet. But I feel horrible because I believe Figueroa won, or at very least, it was a draw. And when you have guys that have the style like a Fulton, and he fought valiantly. I mean, he threw the kitchen sink at Figueroa, and he just couldn't hold the center. He got pushed to the ropes, and he got bullied. And I counted easy 7 rounds for him. And these judges, I think they're scoring based on A side. I think they're scoring based on who's the favorite and who's the underdog. It's a problem that needs to be resolved, and the only way I could see it that everyone benefits here, because let's go back. Why we had 15-round fights dissolved is because it was the Dooku Kim Ray Mancini fight, and one guy was outgunned. It wasn't a mismatch, but he was clearly outgunned. But when you have 2 belt holders at the top of the game, 2 A-list fighters, elite fighters, very rare that you see a one-sided beating where there's a ring fatality. And that's why I believe there should be 4 unification fights. It should be 15 rounds. Now with heavyweights, maybe not, but with all the lower weight classes, I think that's a necessity, because how much longer can we see decisions where one guy is gone after 12 rounds? I mean, Fulton was done. And you see Figueroa, he was still fresh. And for him to lose that decision, that really bothers me. I know you believe he won, Fulton, and that's fine. We all have our opinion. But I just think boxing is being cheated in a way, because we're not seeing the true best being rewarded in fights anymore.
Well,
it's too political.
Doug Fisher agrees with you, Thad, that Doug Fisher had Figueroa winning. And if you have Figueroa winning, you could absolutely make an argument for that. The punching, as far as landed punches, was pretty close, but he was landing the harder shots, and he was the more active guy.
Much harder.
Yeah. So you could absolutely make a case that Figueroa won the fight. I'm just 115, 113 either way. I'm good with 116, 112 was too wide. And I agree with you. 2 of those judges had it way too wide for Fulton.
Yeah, and I think judges are getting way too, they're still in love with the Mayweather style. And a lot of these fighters who fight like Mayweather will never get a decision like him. But then again, with the judges, I mean, they're so used to seeing Mayweather. Maybe we're going to see guys stinking the joint out fighting the way that Mayweather did in most fights, like Haney this weekend. I think he's going to stink the joint out and he's going to win a fight like 117, 111. The other guy George Diaz doesn't have the power really to bother him, even though his chin is iffy and the dimensions aren't there. The length, he doesn't have that type of style to really expose, how to beat Haney. So we're going to see, it's going to be a horrible fight. We can kind of mitigate that, in the real elite matchups with the 15-round fight. That way it forces a guy with that Mayweather style to sit in the pocket more, to do less running. And then the guy with a pressure style, to be more effective. Guys that will be coming up will not try to be like Mayweather. They'll try to be like a Marvin Hagler, where I'm going to pressure you and bust you up, and you're going to have hell lasting 15 rounds to beat me by decision. Because don't forget, Hagler gave up the right to that 15-round fight with Leonard, and he paid for it. If he would have not taken the money, he would have beaten Leonard. He would have knocked him out, or he would have won by decision. So, again, if you can do something about that, get the train rolling, that'd be great.
I'll bring it up.
One thing I want to tell you, please do. And I think Lopez's father, he's the LeVar Ball of boxing.
Yeah.
You don't know who LeVar Ball is. He's LaMelo Ball's father with the Big Baller brand. What an embarrassment he was. And in boxing, when you disgrace your opponents the way he has in the past with Lomachenko and Kambosos, comes back and bites you, because Kambosos had all the bulletin board material there could be to come in and beat his son. He lost that fight for his son on many, many occasions, and you listed a bunch of them. But the disrespect he had really was I think was the nail in the coffin. Because a lot of guys will come in, and when the going gets rough, sometimes they'll look for a soft spot to land. If you're comfortable with that. But against a guy like Lopez, who Kambosos absolutely hated coming into the fight, there was no way he was going to do that. He was going to risk dying before folding. So that was the difference. That was the difference right there. If that guy just kept his mouth shut the whole time, maybe Lopez would have knocked him out. Maybe he would have stopped him in that 10th round. But as we saw with Kambosos, he gutted it out, and then he came back. He came back and he won those 2 rounds.
Yeah.
And again, the judges, Don Trella. And you asked about what fight he scored. That was the 7th round of the Lomas, or the Canelo versus Golovkin fight.
Okay.
The 7th round, Golovkin dominated him, and somehow he scored that round for Canelo. He, again, is another problem with boxing. These judges need to be reviewed, and upon cause, removed from big-time fights. He's one of them. Please get him out of there. And, that's going to have to be rectified at some point. And like the last caller said about Janabek, when he fought Brandt and he beat Brandt, I came out and I said, Andrade's going to duck this guy. He's never going to fight him. I really want to put that on record because I don't think he's going to fight him, even if he has a mandatory. I think he'll ask the WBO to move up to 68 and petition for that rather than fight Janabek, because Janabek said right off the bat, I'm not fighting Golovkin because, he's from Uzbekistan. He's royalty. He's out of my era. Basically saying like his time is past for guys in my era. I want Andrade. He called him out after that fight. So let's see if Andrade is the real deal and accepts that challenge, whether it be as mandatory or not. Because that's a guy who wants to fight him, and I believe that Janabek knocks him out. Spark out. So I want to get that
on the record, sir. Yeah, on the record, man. I got to jump to some other calls, though.
Please do. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, man. We got a bunch of calls, guys. So we gotta keep these quick. Real quick, I want to say thank you to Joe Lassisi for the super chat. He says Andre beat Janabek. He's just another Euro bum that no one knows. He needs a Charlo or Triple G or move to 168 for history. Not no Janabek. I don't know, man. I think Thad was onto something. I think that, Janabek wants to fight Andre. He's willing to fight him. He's calling him out. He wants him. Andre has been saying nobody wants to fight him. Well, here you go, dude. Here's a guy who's calling you out. So go ahead and fight him. Show us you are the man that you say you are. And then it'll build up some demand. We shall see. We shall see. Okay, back to the phones. It looks like we got Rich Lopez on the phone. What's up, Rich? How you doing, man?
Hey, Mike. How's it going?
Good, bro.
Good, man. Listen, I'll make this short. Just really quick, couple things. Well, first of all, I have to say it was a great night of boxing this past weekend. I think both main events, the zone and the Showtime, they delivered. Kambosos Lopez was way better than I anticipated. And Figueroa and Fulton was everybody was expecting. So I mean, first of all, I have to give credit to all the fighters involved with that. With that being said, I'm glad going to the Lopez Kambosos fight. I'm glad the right fighter won the fight. I mean, Kambosos, you know what? He talked the talk, but he walked the walk, man. He was super confident going to that fight. I was kind of, to be honest, I was shocked that he was, I think he was 13-1 underdog.
Yeah.
I did not see that whatsoever because I don't know, it was just a combination of people riding the Lopez bandwagon, or people never seeing Kambosos fight. I mean, it could have been a combination of that. But I saw enough of Kambosos as far as fights and clips to say, okay, I didn't pick him to win. I picked Lopez, but I figure he wasn't going to give Lopez a really hard fight. I didn't anticipate a mismatch or anything when they were about to when they announce that fight. But either way, he took it to Lopez, and I want to say I think Lopez did underestimate Kambosos, but and I know I think there's some articles saying he was going through some personal issues, but hey, listen, part of the fight game is you always got to be ready and trained for everybody. You don't take anybody lightly in boxing. That's just how it is. So I would like to see a rematch, but it sounds like Lopez is going to eventually probably move up in weight. So if I recall in the post-fight interview, I think Kambosos actually challenged him to a rematch in Australia. He didn't seem like too eager to take that.
No way.
Offer.
No way.
No. And as far as the father, he's a clown, man. I mean, he kind of reminds you of Angel Garcia. Like they talk a big game, and they're the ones that act like they're fighters. They're doing the fight, but
exactly.
I don't know. They just kind of And then going to the Figueroa Fulton fight, that was a good fight. It was a close fight. Me personally, I felt that Figueroa won that fight 7 rounds to 5, but it was really close. Could have gone either way. I know Figueroa would say that he got robbed, but it was basically a close fight that just could have gone either way. I picked actually Figueroa to win that fight. I really thought that. I saw more people picking Fulton, but I really thought it was a 50-50 fight because even though Fulton has the speed and the skills and he's just a better boxer, but Figueroa has proven to me in prior fights, and plus he's got the size that he has beaten his opponents based on attrition, his aggression, his body punches, and I wasn't sure if Fulton was able to hang in with that kind of style, especially in a long fight. Plus, I saw Figueroa with a really good chin in this fight. Like he could take a really good punch, and I didn't think Fulton would be able to hurt him. So that's why I thought the fight was a little bit more like a 50-50 toss-up kind of fight. But and it proved to be that way because, like I said, it was really, really close. And I think with that fight, there should be a rematch. It didn't seem like Figueroa was talking too much about doing a rematch, but I think if he looks back at the fight, they'll probably run it back again. And no, I do agree with you about Danny Roman. I think he's a live underdog with anybody top of the 122 division. You should fight the winner of. You should fight Fulton or what's his name? Akabali, the guy they fought before.
Akmadalov?
That would be good if they do a rematch. Yeah, Akadalov. I'm sorry, Akadalov. Because that was a close fight itself, and I personally thought that fight could have gone either way too. And I think Danny Roman deserves a rematch with that guy as well. So he's definitely in the mix. And really, really quick for this weekend's fights, I think we could see a repeat of another good night on
Whoa. I don't know what the hell happened there, but we're gonna have to drop you, Rich. I don't know. Your phone went crazy, or your phone blew the hell up. So sorry about that, guys. If that just blew out your ears. By the way, we have hundreds of people watching. At one point, we were up to I think 380 live. We only have 126 likes. Hit the damn thumbs up, people. Hit the thumbs up if you're enjoying this content. Okay, let's go over to Ireland. I think this is Mark from Unrivaled. He hasn't been on the show in a while. So let's see what Mark's got to say, because I know he's going to have some good stuff. Mark, I believe this is you, Mark. You're on the show. What's up, brother?
I'm very good. How are you?
Good.
Awesome. So I want to start this real quick by just saying one thing, real specific, really easy. I want there to be a petition because I think Ring Magazine did something wrong last year.
Okay.
And I've held this for a while, and I need to say this. Joey Gamache should have been accredited for the Trainer of the Year, not Teofimo Lopez. And I think there should be a petition for the first time ever, retroactively, to remove him for Trainer of the Year. He wasn't training himself. Joey was. And everybody knows that. So he got that, and it's a fraudulent fight. He didn't deserve it. He didn't do anything. He didn't even say a word in the corner. And anything he did say was retarded. Just like we saw against George Kambosos. I wanted to bring that point up because I think it's very unfair. I think it's very unfair that the real person behind the work and the person who was doing it didn't get the credit. So I really want that to be brought up. I know that it won't happen because nobody does that because it's unfair, but it was unfair in the course.
Hey, bro, I will
look at that.
I will put it to the Ring Ratings Committee. I promise you that. I will quote you on this call on my wrap up that I will do on ringtv.com tomorrow. So you will be quoted on the Ring TV website. Okay. So look for that. By the way, everybody, I do that every week. So if you call in, you can check out your quote on Ring TV's website. If you're not checking out my recap every week, you're missing out. But Mark, I will get you on the record on the website and I will bring it up to the committee. I promise you that, brother. I will do that.
Yeah, because I really feel like that man, he keeps talking about this shit like I was the trainer here. No, you weren't. Stop living off of Joey Damash's. It's disgraceful. This man's living vicariously through everybody else's accomplishments bar his own. He can't do jack shit. I'm just going to be straightforward. I know people in the comment section who will give you better advice than, what are you doing? Get him out of here. It's absolutely awful. Absolutely. Don't use your jabs. Oh, slow down, speed up, knock him out. What the fuck do you want the kid to do? He's a young man. He needs instruction. And you're out here treating him like he's a check. That's what you're doing. Like, I feel really, really disappointed in that whole corner team. Teofimo, he believes in the hype a bit too much. How many times do we see a fighter following after the power, right? So they're running around hearing about how powerful they are, and they fall in love with that. Treat your opponents with respect. Fighters like George Kambosos, maybe they're not the greatest pure boxers on earth, but they will give you problems if you headhunt them for 12 rounds and do nothing else but throw one singular punch every single time. It was like watching Anthony Yarde versus Lyndon Arthur, only with more volume and a little bit more power. That's what it was really like. It was just dreadful game plan. And that will tell you, when you have a fighter like Teofimo, who was capable of beating Loma when he was under Joey Camacho, right? Or knocking out Comey when he's under Joey Camacho, and then he's losing to George Kambosos or something like that, it puts him on the same level as somebody enjoys it. It's ridiculous. Empty the tank. What are you doing? Get him out of here. Same thing. It's the same thing. And all in all, though, big credit to George. He did what he needed to do, right? He got very consistent. Fantastic job. I loved watching. I actually loved the fact that George came in looking for that overhand right and that left hook around the guard into the body.
Yeah.
And then Teofimo didn't even have a guard. Oh, shit. What was he doing?
I think he was surprised.
What was he doing?
I think he was surprised and unprepared. And he was not getting technical advice. Sometimes something's happening in the ring, Mark, and you're getting caught with a certain shot, and you just don't see it happening in real time. And you need your corner to give you that technical advice, and tell you, hey, he's catching with the check hook when you're bouncing in, feint on the way in, let him shoot that, move around it, then counter, something. You need to hear technical advice. And Senior was giving him none.
Yeah, fair enough. Now, let me say this real quick. Fulton Figueroa, right? I scored at a draw. I think where a lot of people are going wrong in terms of calling this fight a robbery, I have to say this, Mike, right, is I counted 6 to 7 swing rounds in that fight. 6 to 7 of them are pure swing rounds. And I've seen everybody's scorecard. You know how many people who scored it to Figueroa have the same cards? Nearly nobody. Do you know how many people who scored it to Fulton who have the same cards? Nearly nobody. Because there was too many swing rounds. People were picking rounds and guessing because so many of them were tight. Figueroa threw more shots. Some of them were illegal shots, back of the head, on the hip, like the bottom of the hip, like literally on the thigh. So it's a leg shot. Some of them are on the nuts. Some are good clean blows. Fulton, he landed some shots that were more eye-catching. Figueroa hurt him more. But you don't score a fight based off of who hurts you more. You score a fight based off of who's winning each round. You can hurt a guy in a round, right? You hurt him twice in a fight. You'll win those 2 rounds, but it's still only 2 rounds. I thought it was a draw. I think there should be an immediate rematch, but it looks like they're going to move man up. And by the way, before they leave, because I know that you've got other callers, I want to say this right now. Janabek will get knocked out by Demetrius.
Really? Okay.
Right? And by the way, to everybody else out there who's calling Janabek a Euro one, the motherfucker's Asian, okay? Kazakhstan is in Asian. Learn the geography. All right, have a good one, Mike.
Okay, Mark. Have a good one, man. Technically, Kazakhstan is, I believe, Central Asia. The people there, though, are an ethnic mix, and they are Eurasian, most of them. They are a mixture of Eastern European and Asian ancestry. There are people from Kazakhstan that look like the Klitschko brothers. Vladimir Klitschko was actually born in Kazakhstan. There are people from Kazakhstan that look almost, 3/4 Asian. So it's definitely an ethnically diverse country, but it is in Central Asia. So I don't know. It socially, people from that part of the world are seen as quote unquote Russian here in America. It's interesting because this is something me and my wife talk about because she is, of course, Chinese. She's actually 3/4 Chinese and 1/4 Vietnamese. And we talk about this because, our kid's going to be Eurasian, and or Hapa is a word you hear a lot in California. But, socially, the kid is pretty much going to be seen increasingly. People of Eurasian ancestry are seen in America as quote unquote white. And you see that more and more. Even a lot of college admissions now they consider Asians white people. So I told my wife the other day, we saw this article. It said there are several universities now in Canada and America that are considering Asians white people, and everyone else is quote unquote people of color. By the way, I hate that term. It's so fucking stupid. Just all these terms are actually really fucking stupid. But anyway, I told my wife, I guess you're white 2.0, and she was laughing her ass off. But anyway, okay, tangent, keep it to boxing. I know, I get it. Couple of super chats. Let's see, Iceman with the super chat. Thank you, man. He says, salute to Unrivaled Boxing Talk. Good stuff from Mark. And Remy with the super chat. Thank you. He says, unrivaled with that knowledge. Everyone loves Mark's rants. Mark got on here and did the damn thing. Look, Mark makes a good point that Gamashi deserves, I think, more credit than he got. And it was kind of like this stealth. Michael Mendiolas talked about this in the chat. Eric Morales is getting a lot of credit for Jaime Munguia, improving him. But the guy's really, really working and doing the improvements day in and day out with Munguia. They're not getting the credit. And you can kind of say the same thing a little bit here with Teo. With Gamashi out of that corner, you saw what happened Saturday. I'm just saying. Okay, let's click this. Let's get back to the phones. Let's see. Let's click on this next call here. 214. Looks like we got Dallas, Texas on the line. You're on the show. What's up?
Hey, what's up, Mike?
What's up? Who are we talking to?
Justin from Dallas.
Justin from Dallas. What's up, man? What you got?
I only watched the zone card. I'm going to watch the Showtime card after this, but so I wanted to see my boy Teofimo Lopez fight, and man, it wasn't anything what I was expecting. I predicted him to win in the 9th round by KO or TKO, but I knew that George Kambosos was good because I was watching his fight with Lee Selby. At first, I thought he had lost, but I went back to rewatch it, and I thought he won it. And man, George, he was awesome in the fight.
Yeah,
it really, really shocked me when he dropped Teofimo in the first round. I'm like, whoa, yeah, it was a great fight, but not really a great fight for Teofimo. It was just George. He was great. Teofimo was okay, and it was man, I'm just disappointed the way he come. I can't believe he came out in the first round actually trying to KO on. I thought he was just saying that just to say it. I didn't think he was actually going to go out there and do it. And, I'm a big fan of George Kambosos now, and I'm very disappointed the way Teofimo acted after the fight, interrupting George. That was just disgraceful.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I'm just not a fan of that anymore. I think he needs help, psychological help. I think he needs to get away from his dad and Rolly Romero. Those guys aren't going to help him in boxing. He needs to stay away from those dudes.
I hear you, man. I agree with you 100%. I think that right now they need to get him away from the family, get him away from everybody, and put him in a gym in Vegas with a team of people that just focus on boxing 100%. Get the dad out of the picture. It's bad news.
Yeah, and the Kenichi Algawa fight. Yeah, I like that South African guy. I thought he was pretty good in the Martin Ward fight, and he's really good with the shoulder roll. I like him. But Kenichi was pressuring him smart, and he wasn't like hesitant, but he was like cautious, and he was being effective when he tried to pressure him, and he was landing the better shots. Except for every now and then, Azula would come back, but mainly it was just him. And it's crazy that the scorecards were that close, but I'm glad he dropped him at least 2 times, and hopefully he passes his drug test. That's the only problem I have with him. But yeah, that's it. I thought it was a great fight, great night of boxing.
It was. Yeah, it really was. And that's what's getting lost. I feel like I've done a disservice to Kambosos, man, and just the whole night, because it was a good night of boxing, and I've been talking more about Teo and how they screwed up instead of all the things that Kambosos did good. So I need to check myself on that.
Yeah. I'm a big Teofimo fan. At first, I kind of felt sorry for him, but I thought about him like, you know what, I should be being more congratulatory towards George Kambosos, because he did everything he needed to do. He put on an awesome show, and he showed almost all his skills. I don't know if he showed all his skills, and yeah, man, like Teofimo, he was fucked up for what he said. For what he said, man, I'm not feeling him right now.
I hear you.
Anyway, that's my call.
All right, Justin, have a good one, bro. Thanks for calling in, man. All right. Got a couple more. We're going to jump up to Illinois. We got 773. You're on the show. What's going on?
What's up, brother? How are you?
Good. How are you? Who we talking to?
Talking from Kevin from Chicago.
Oh, Kevin from Chicago. I thought that might have been you, man. What's up? How you doing?
Pretty good. Good to see. I thought he could have got him out of there. I thought if Kambosos pushed the pressure, he was making him miss a lot. Like, we saw Teofimo slowing down, but it's almost like he would make him miss and would back up. Like, make him miss and come forward, try to wear him out some more. Like, it's on that 11th to 12th round. It's almost like he was a sitting duck there. Like, Teofimo didn't have nothing left. He was just sitting there in the middle of the ring, and I felt like Kambosos should have pushed the pace more. Maybe he got a stoppage. I feel like he was that drained, that tired, that he could have got him out of there. What do you think?
I don't know. I mean, it's possible, but I think that if you're Kambosos, you're winning those rounds, and you don't want to give. Remember, he did get dropped in the 10th. You don't want to give Teo any chance to land a counter. I just thought he so clearly won those 2 rounds. I mean, yeah, it's possible he could have stepped it up and got him out of there, maybe. But at the same time, it's like, you're winning. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I thought that he fought really, really well in those last 2 rounds. And I thought Teo looked really flat and was almost kind of in survival mode. He was kind of huffing and puffing and more just about defense in those last 2 rounds.
You know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of Tyson Fury in the first Wilder fight, where he was making him miss a lot, but he wasn't making him pay. Make him miss and you make it pay. And it felt like Lopez really wasn't respecting him too much. He was coming forward and throwing bombs. Like, oh man, one of those bombs is going to land soon. And it did. The 10th round almost got him out of there. He's probably about 1 or 2 more clean punches away of getting stopped.
Yeah.
That's why I felt like he could have. Can't let these dudes just come on and swing bombs on you and doing the pitter patter. You got to get in there, make him pay for all these misses. He was throwing bombs and he was missing a lot. And then Teofimo would just take center again, catch his breath, then go throw bombs again. So he could have got out of there, put some pressure on him, walked him down some. He probably would have got him out of there. But either way, he fought a smart fight at the end of the day because he got the win. That's all that matters, right?
That's all that matters, man. Get the W, get them belts. And now he's going to go to Australia for his next fight. He's going to make life-changing money. I don't think it's going to be a rematch with Lopez, but I think that he'll have a voluntary defense in Australia early next year. He'll make a ton of cash, and then he's going to have options. I mean, perhaps he can unify everything. You know, I'm using air quotes because Haney has that bogus WBC belt. He's got that option. I mean, he's going to have options. He's going to get a couple of paydays out of this, regardless of what happens. So it's just, hey, man, get the W, get the belts, you know, and that's what he did. Great performance.
Also, the people who are all about the he's unified. Now they're all going to be quiet. They're saying the Teofimo, he's got all the belts, he's got all the belts. Now the people are saying that I guarantee they're going to change his tournament. Who cares? It doesn't matter anymore because he lost. I feel like that's going to be the narrative. But at the end of the day, Haney is the recognized WBC champion, is he not?
Man, you talk to the WBC, Mauricio Suleiman, basically in a recent interview, basically said, I'm paraphrasing, that the WBC franchise belt is kind of like the WBA super belt, and the WBA or the WBC belt is like the WBA regular belt. So he basically admitted that the title that Haney has is a secondary title. I tend to just not worry about all that shit. All the belts, all that shit's political. It's all political, man. The champion right now, the lightweight champion of the world, is George Kambosos Jr. And Haney is a title holder, cool, but the legit champion is Kambosos. And I just, you can't deny that. He beat the man who beat the man who beat the man. That's it.
How about this? Devin Haney beat Kambosos. I think he does as much as I hate to say.
Yeah,
I hate to say it.
I think that Haney is going to be favored in his fight against Diaz this weekend. If he wins that fight, and then they both have one more fight early next year, then maybe they unify all the belts, all the WBC belts, everything next summer or something, especially if Haney's willing to go to Australia. That'd be a huge event. That'd be a big, big deal. And if he wins that fight, he's a bright young star in this sport. That will be his arrival. You know what I'm saying? But there's a lot of things that got to take place between now and then. So,
what do you think about Lomachenko? How is he going to squeeze into the next year? He gets this win against Comey, he's right back in there.
Well, there's another possibility. Lomachenko gets the win against Comey. Maybe there's a Lomachenko-Kambosos fight next year, because Loma would be more than willing to travel to Australia to take that fight. And that's probably a more lucrative fight for Kambosos. Fighting Lomachenko in Australia makes him more money than fighting Devin Haney in America. So there's a lot of possibilities. Like I said, Kambosos is going to be in demand. You know, what's funny is everyone's calling him out right now. Shakur Stevenson and all these people all of a sudden want a taste of him. They have wanted no interest in fighting Teofimo Lopez. I think that's hilarious. But he's going to be in demand. He's going to be able to mandate some big paydays.
You know what it is? You don't see him as a heavy puncher. People are still.
That's part of it. There's other parts, but you know, there's things they see there, and they think it's low-hanging fruit, so they're going after him. You know,
it's the same reason why people don't want to fight Wilder. The heavy punchers are afraid to get knocked out, embarrassed, get their life twitched out. When you're fighting the big, explosive power punchers like Teofimo,
fair enough.
There's a possibility to be humiliated, left on the mat, and that's why I think they're not afraid to do. It's a volume puncher, not very heavy-handed, so that's why they're calling him out. Like, can't be underestimated now. They proved us all wrong. Can't
Absolutely.
Be underestimated now. I'll leave it to it.
All right, Kevin. Thanks a lot, man.
To the Greek.
My wife is on the chat. Hey, baby. She's waving hi to all you guys. Tiffany here on the chat. Hey, baby. While you're on, make sure you hit the thumbs up. Okay, I could use some more thumbs up. I miss you. I hope you're having fun with the baby up there. And I'll see you soon. Okay, we got a few more calls, guys. But here's the thing. We've got 9 more minutes left of screen time, so we are not getting to all these calls. I'm probably going to get to one more. We got a UK call that's been on hold for a while here. But first, I want to get to this super chat from Boxing Wave. Thank you so much, brother. He says, I agree with the caller. George clearly won, but they could have easily gave Teofimo the hometown gift draw. It all worked out for him in the end, but I expected a robbery. I did too. I kind of saw this, not exactly, but like to me, it kind of reminded me of the Charlo Castano fight where they found a way to give Charlo that draw because I thought Castano won. And they're going to do a rematch early next year, and it's Charlo that's going to make the adjustments and get the W. And generally speaking, with these developmental kind of fights, and the Charlos are still developing. I don't care what they try to, the marketing people try to tell you. If you have a tough fight like that, you get the draw, you improve in the rematch, right? Because I do think Charlo has more levels than Castano, and he's going to make the adjustments to win that rematch. And it wouldn't have surprised me if that's what we saw in this fight. If it ended up being a draw and, Teo escapes with his titles, right? But the difference here and why they couldn't take it from Dude is because Kambosos went out and won the 11th and 12th rounds. And him doing that the way he did, that took the fight, man. If Teo had followed up on what he did in the 10th round and won the 11th and 12th, then he would have won the fight or at least gotten a draw. All right, guys, then we'll do one more call because we got 7 more minutes of screen time. Let's jump over to this call. All right, we got 776 on the line from the UK. What's up? You're on the show.
Hi, Mike. It's Zach from the UK.
Zach, what's
How
up?
you doing?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah. So I've only been watching the fight today, and to be honest with you, before the fight, I put my hands up. I actually did think Lopez was going to knock Kambosos out. I mean, the only other fight I did watch was Kambosos beating, old Lee Selby, and I thought, Lee Selby's not a lightweight, and I thought he's kind of towards the end of his career. So I'll be honest, I didn't think much of Kambosos. I just thought Lopez is a bigger guy. He's got the power, and he's gonna knock him out within the first 5-6 rounds. But to be honest with you, Kambosos surprised us with that jab of his. I think he kept going with the jab all night. And I think one thing that was really good was he started off with the jab and then the left hook followed up, and he did that all night.
And it landed.
Yeah.
It landed over and over.
And it landed over and over again. That was kind of poor defense from Lopez. And I think the other thing was, so that's one thing he was doing. And then I think the other thing was the overhand right. And that landed as well.
Yeah. A bunch of times. And man, I'm telling you, Zach, in the corner, Teo Sr. wasn't giving his fighter direction. And those punches kept landing. And Sr. should have told him, hey, man, he keeps throwing a jab, left hook, and he keeps feinting and throwing an overhand right. Look for those punches, but he just
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I echo the sentiments of the earlier callers, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
he needs to get rid of his dad. I thought Danny Garcia's dad was quite bad, but I suppose he can actually train this fighter, whereas Lopez's father, I remember at one point, I think it was in the first 5 rounds, and he was saying to Lopez, you're doing really well. You're doing really well, champ, and something like that, something along those lines. And I'm thinking, where's the direction? Where's the tactics? Why are you not kind of instructing him? Your fight keeps getting caught. Yeah, so you need to get rid of his dad, to be honest with you. And I think I saw your tweet. I think I replied back to it today. It's actually quite bad how Lopez started off right at the top, and now he just tumbled down and lost against kind of beating a pound-for-pound fighter in Lomachenko to kind of losing against his undefeated mandatory. So, I don't know. I wanted to ask you, Mike, where do you think Teo goes from here then?
I think he's going to move up to 140. And there are a lot of options for him there with, Top Rank has several fighters there. You got Zepeda, you got Ramirez. So he can kind of test the waters there. I think him versus Zepeda would be a good fight, although Zepeda is probably going to go for a title shot. So there's definitely options for him at 140. But I think that the first thing is, I agree with you, Zach. He's got to get it's Teo Jr. is not going to do this. Somebody at Top Rank needs to get Teofimo Lopez Jr. in a room and say, listen, your dad's a problem, and we need to separate you from the family structure, get you out of that bubble, and get you focused on boxing 24/7. They kind of need to do an AJ. Like, AJ is kind of doing a little bit of an overhaul right now, and I like that move.
Yeah.
And I think we need to see that from Teo Jr.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, and to be honest with you, I'm a bit gutted because as a Lomachenko fan, I kind of want to see that rematch, because I think, yes, Lomachenko did get beat comfortably by Lopez, but I just thought Lomachenko wasn't himself in that fight. He started far too late. It would have been interested how Lomachenko and Lopez would have fought in the rematch, but I think Lopez is he's too big for the weight. I mean, he looked quite gaunt at the weigh-in as well. He just looked like he just about kind of made the weight, to be honest with you. So I think 140 would be good. I mean, at this point, I see obviously Josh Taylor is too good for anyone at the moment, but yeah, I think you've got Ramirez, Zepeda, and quite a few fighters there as well. Is he still with Top Rank?
Yes, he is. Yeah, they re-upped their deal earlier this year, so they still have a deal. He's going to be with Top Rank for a while. So, they're smart. They know what they're doing. They'll move him to 140, and he's going to do just fine there. And by the time, you got to remember, Taylor's big at 47, or I'm sorry, at 40. He's going to move up to 47 and eventually fight Terrence Crawford. They're going to try to do that fight. So all the titles will be vacant at 140, and Teo is going to have an opportunity to fight for vacant titles. I absolutely believe he will be a world champion again at junior welterweight.
Another thing I was thinking about, like with America, you've got so many kind of, you've got Virgil Ortiz and kind of Jaron Ennis, and then you've got obviously all the lightweights and Shakur Stevenson, so Tank and Haney and Lopez. Who, in your opinion, do you think is going to kind of come out on top? I know it's a bit kind of, it's a bit hard to kind of judge. I mean, I thought Lopez was going to be that guy, especially being with Top Rank and the way Top Rank kind of nurture fighters and stuff. And I thought he would be the guy that would kind of be the one that would eventually become the most accomplished. Who do you think at the moment from the current crop would kind of be the most accomplished by the end of their career?
It's probably going to be Shakur Stevenson at this point. It looks like Shakur Stevenson.
Yeah.
It could be Devin Haney. But these things change. But right now, Stevenson is the guy where it's like, wow, there really might be something there. But Zach, we got a minute left, man. So I got to let you go. But good stuff.
Cool, man. Now I'll talk to you, Mike.
All right, man. Have a good one.
Bye.
All right, guys, that is it, man. And I'm sorry, we still got like 10 more calls, but we're on the WBC network and we got to wrap it at 2 hours. All right, guys. So let's hit the outro music. So thank you for an awesome show and for listening to my ranting. Hopefully I was coherent enough. I made sense. We'll do it show Friday on my channel. So look for that. Okay, guys. We got a bunch of stuff coming up, man. A bunch of stuff in the works. Remember that show here in Atlanta this Saturday, okay? Free stream on the WBC network. I will be doing the commentary. All right, guys. Have a great night, and we'll see you at the fights.